Hello, hello. Not too sure how many people are here because I was really bad. I should not be trusted with promoting anything, especially when it's earlier in the month than it usually is. That's fine. The replay will be here for people.
Mm-hmm. Not like any of us remembered either.
How many of us were last minute reading this book?
How many of us finished it today?
I finished it yesterday.
Three of us?
It just happened to take me 10 days to read a book.
You know, Robin, you gotta get it together. We can like that.
Well, I have no room to talk. I have only completed one book so far this month.
I was going to say I'm functioning
very close to finishing 2 others though. I've been reading a lot of manga, so it's not that I'm not reading. And my audiobook is just 10,000 hours long.
I've decided to just watch a lot of anime.
Fantasy Life I is real for me, y'all. Like, that's what's been sucking all my time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just downloaded Date Everything, so I have a feeling I'm going to not read anything for a while. It's fine.
Sure.
Fine.
No, I keep getting flare-ups. So what I've discovered is that once I drop below 80% of mental capacity, I'm so easily distracted by absolutely everything except what I'm trying to do and actively want to do.
Oh, fair. The ADHD brain will really propel you as soon as you're at that capacity into chaos. It's fine.
Yep. So that's okay. Like, I wanted to do it, and I wanted to do it closer towards the live show. And life is just lifing as per usual. Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. Oh, also, I'm really mad at you, Robin, because my brain apparently blocked out the mouth noises until you brought it to my attention. So the second half of the book was so bad.
No. Okay. Like, I was listening today, and I was like, I haven't noticed that. And my brain was just skipping them, I think.
Mine was too.
Or they got worse at the later half of the book. I'm not sure which. And then I was hearing some of the mouth noises, and I was like, thank God I listened at 3 times speed, because you know what?
Yeah, definitely don't. Ride With Me was the one that is the worst by Simone Sultani.
I haven't done that one. I didn't do that one on audio. I read it with my eyes.
I was so upset. And you guys get to watch me just like lose my cool over all of the swallowing sounds.
Yeah, I was very upset because my brain was like, yeah, we're just gonna ignore this until you brought it to my attention, and then I had to just stop listening for the rest of that day because I was like, I have to let my brain forget again.
I had hit like the point where you couldn't stop the book, basically. Because I felt like there's a point in this one where you're like, oh, I'm just in.
100%. Yeah. Part of me was glad that I saved it.
Oh, well. Here I am, not stopping.
Yeah. Part of me was really glad that I saved it for today because I was
Mm-hmm.
able to read the whole like last 55% or whatever in one sitting. Because I think if I had to stop in that last 55%, I might have cried. I mean, I did cry, to be for real. I stopped.
I had to stop at 70%, and I'm like, if I don't stop here, I'm going to be up until 2:00 in the morning, and I really can't do that.
I think I stopped close to where you stopped, Steph, yesterday, and then today I finished up that last chunk.
A chapter ends right about 71% of the book, and I'm like, if I don't stop, that's it. Because I started trying to read the book, and I had to switch to the ebook because I couldn't concentrate because I'm like, this writing, it's not small writing, but to my brain, I'm like, I'm not going to get through this if I read it in the book. I need to read the ebook. So, because I would not have got through the audiobook. All right, so we have 3 people who read it on. So, Robin, you read it on audio.
No, I read it on ebook. I just know that there was.
Yeah, you read it. Yeah.
I audiobooked it.
Yeah. I need to go back through my annotations on that ebook and add them to the physical book. Alrighty. Well, we didn't introduce each other, but I feel like by this point if you want to introduce yourselves, you can.
Nah, we're okay.
I think
we've already done that.
If you've on your channel
before, watch the previous 3 if you need us to introduce ourselves.
Watch the previous 2 years if you need to know who I am.
2 years.
2 years.
We're going back like 4 or 5.
4
I was like,
years.
it's 4 or 5. I was like, it's more than 2.
No, you're right. It is more than 2. The past like 4 or 5 years, yeah.
I can go back and find evidence. I think we started in 2020, Megan.
We did start it in 2020. You are correct. Because I was in the house that I was in for COVID. And I didn't get there
one of the
until
cool
2020.
kids that got invited to the lives.
Well, I think it was we were totally by accident that we ended up in lives, Megan. So that's fine.
It was because you all decided to do your
And
side
Nalini,
changeling thing.
Yeah, side changeling along, and then everyone just slowly left us.
You get in lives by reading the books, or like I did for that one side changeling live, where you just jump in not having read any of the books.
Yeah.
Well, do you know what? Sometimes having people who haven't read the book is good because they ask you questions that you don't think of when you have read the book.
Yeah.
Right.
That's fair. I'm not even going to attempt to summarize this book.
Too much stuff happened.
I read it and I found, because I couldn't concentrate really well and because I can't picture anything in my head, I'm like, I know what's happening, but this is I need to reread it, is what I need to do.
I feel like this one's really easy to summarize because it's just the trials of trying to, reach adulthood in their society, the specific trials they have to pass, and also kind of the question of whether or not their society is going to accept the children that they lost as they are or not.
Advocate.
Yeah, I feel like that trial is like the main synopsis.
Wow.
But a lot happens inside of that.
Unpopular opinion, this is my least favorite book.
Interesting. Tell me why.
I feel like it was just, there was too much and there was like, it never slowed down. And my brain was just like, I can't handle the fact that there is just no like breathing room in this book at all.
That's fair. A lot does happen.
And then, I don't know, I just hated the Jarek so much that it was like impacting all of me that I was like, I don't know if I can keep reading this.
Yeah.
I
don't know. Maybe it's because I actually agree with you. Like I loved the book, but I also walked away feeling like this is probably the book that I took the least in from. And like Jarek's character, I just kept thinking of the Star Wars Inquisitors, and that's because I'm just watching Star Wars at the same time. So
I kept thinking of Brandon Sanderson's Warbreaker, because they have an Inquisitor in there too, and they don't. It's really creepy because they like don't have eyes.
Yeah,
and I just kept picturing that.
I was just like, oh, zealots who are just so steadfast in their belief systems that they don't want to listen to reason. Oh, this is fun. I'm so happy I get to have to experience this in my make-believe life as well as my real life.
Yeah. I also feel like because they were introduced, and I know we get a lot of information introduced over all of the books, I found it interesting that they were introduced here. Like, to me, that was a really sudden inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And I get why, but also it was kind of like the introduction was a bit jarring.
It was also weird that I was like, why does this one face get like underlings, I guess? Which was kind of weird to me because he's the face of justice, but then he also has like inquisitors. So
I think it's the same way that like
Graydon has faces.
I think it's the same way that like Graydon has his like group of.
Yeah.
Well, but I assume that the face would also have a Shota as well.
I think that one doesn't. I think he has inquisitors because he doesn't. He's not a warrior.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do want to reread it, and I want to reread it when I'm feeling better. So it's going to be my challenge at some point.
There was definitely a lot of like reveals and stuff that I did go back and like read a second time to make sure that because there were some some big things that were finally explained that I was like, okay, I need to make sure that I'm following what some of these reveals were.
Yeah.
Megan, your project is hitting your mic.
Oh, that's because my computer doesn't want to connect to my headphones, so my mic is my computer. Also, if you hear buzzing sounds,
I keep hearing
please
a
let
noise,
me know.
and it was driving me up a wall, and I was trying to figure out who it was.
No, you're good. You're good.
And then I saw you move just right, and Heather put it, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm not the only one who's like, I think it's the project.
Yeah, no, if you hear buzzing sounds, please let me know, and I'll mute my mic because it keeps picking up my AC, and again, it just won't switch to my headphones for some reason.
No, you're fine. The ADHD brain was just like, where the fuck is that noise coming
Yeah, so far that's not a problem. It's just the craft.
Well, the AC is not on right now.
Oh, well.
That's why I said whenever it flips on.
Well, it's fine.
We'll warn you.
Appreciate it.
I was definitely overwhelmed in this one. Go ahead, Heather.
I feel like my reread was more difficult. I feel like that first time when I just read them all back to back to back, it was easy because yes, I feel like this one is kind of a transitionary book. You know, it's very getting from book 3 to book 5 with a lot happening, and definitely they've been, you know,
it feels like middle book syndrome where it's kind of getting you from point A to point B.
Yeah. And like I kind of liked how the trials were handled and everything, right? But I know when I was reading it back to back, I wasn't really bothered by it, but I kind of had a hard time. I don't know if it was the slump though.
Right.
Well, I mean, that's like I say that I enjoyed it probably the least of all of them, but it's still sitting up there as a 5 or a 6 star. Like the actual the crafting of the story, it's just I think where it sits and how much happens really quickly.
Yeah.
Like it's having the time to take it in, and it's almost like you do need to read it slowly and take breaks to process it, but the story itself doesn't let you take breaks to process it because everything leads into the next thing. So it's just, I mean, it's good. And like I was trying to think about, you know, how do you even talk about the story? Like I think the only way you talk about the story is you go through each individual character and actually go, okay, well, this is what we get from this character. This is what we get from this character, because it's so.
Which I will say, and Shay knows this too because she read it, the next book, you're getting more than one POV because you are kind of split up and you are following everybody kind of. So,
but we got a taste of that in this and in the previous books as well, because we do occasionally switch to Graydon's perspective.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And this one started with Celine. Is that her name?
Celine.
Yeah, Celine.
Oh, and we got Torvald once too, didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, also, I ship Celine and Alex so hard.
Yeah.
I know.
I love them.
Every time he would like go, he'd be like yelling at someone, and then he'd like pick her up and put her down.
I know.
They were amazing together. I love them together.
Literally, that man has like morality chain energy when it comes to her. Like he would burn the world for her.
Also, his Jekyll and Hyde thing, so good because he's such a smarty pants, and then he's just like,
taking off the mask is hilarious. Yeah.
He's so good.
He reminds me of another. I can't remember who he reminds me of. I don't know if it's a book character or whatever. But I remember reading it, going, it reminds me of someone that I've either read or seen as a character, and I'm there for that energy. That works for me.
Mm-hmm.
The other one that got me was Graydon repeating the oath.
Mm-hmm.
And Kira repeating it later.
Yeah. Yes. Oh.
Killed me.
Yeah, I also just I hate Elise so much.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
She's one of those like
I understand her
kind
character.
of interesting villains, I guess, because you can totally follow, like, based off of, if you assume that what she's saying is true, you can follow how she got through her situations. Whereas some of the like the overlord of the house or whatever that was just like evil because he was like, I wanted power, like those ones are just like, okay, you're just a crappy person. But at least with Elise, it's like, I can see how you made your logical jumps. Like I don't agree with them.
I get her supposed anti-hero, not necessarily villainness. I just don't like her.
That's me. I got to the last little bit of the book and I was like, I understand it, I get it, and I don't like it.
Yep. Same.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I just agree with you guys completely, actually. I think that Elise has a much harder journey that she's been forced on. I think if you were surrounded by a community that was enslaved, you would probably do some pretty awful things to free them.
I was like, I don't dislike her. I think she has been backed into a corner and has had to get by with the situation that she found herself in.
And this is also one of those things that's really annoying in books when it's like Throne of Glass and it's like, oh, I'm the most feared assassin in the entire kingdom and I serve the evil king, but also none of my marks ever end up dead and I just keep getting away with that somehow. Whereas like with Elise, she can't flub all her missions, right? No. She can't constantly, oh, they got away again. She can't do that.
Yeah.
So to me, that's like...
And she does do that in the last book. And then you kind of see what happens with the face changers or whatever, where she's like, that was retribution for me not doing my part last time. Like I let my mark get away. Yeah. Now look what happened. Like that's
I do like that Aaron was just like, all right, well, this was fun to watch. I'm gonna go back to my cell now.
Yeah.
I think
I did like that he was like, well, Kira looks like she can clearly save me. I'm out. I'm not following this chick anymore. I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
I think the thing with Elise, I would 100% read a story from her perspective, and I would probably be far more sympathetic to it. Like, well, I am sympathetic to her character. I understand it, but I think I would probably like her more in terms of this particular story having everything that she's been through, because I think what we've been positioned for is to be so invested in Kira and Graydon and Elena and Ryder's story by this point that any betrayal on Elisa's part, like automatically
and me though on purpose, because they're betrayed by her. So I think it's a purposeful choice.
Oh yeah, 100%. But I would read the hell out of her story, and I would probably really like her as a character in that sense. But yeah, in this case, I'm just like,
I think even on the first reread, I was far more annoyed with Kira and Ryder and the way that they respond to her, because to me, I'm just like, it's literally up to chance. Any of you could have been taken. Any of you could be with where she is and what she's doing, and you would make, largely the same choices, and you would understand that. I don't understand why you guys are acting like it couldn't be you. Like it would just as easily be you.
Right. It's very hypocritical of some of the judgments that they're passing.
Yeah. I think we're seeing that too with the 43, where like she's suddenly realizing like maybe
the 43.
Like, because like her and Jin had this idea like, oh no, they just like betrayed us. And all of a sudden all this stuff is coming out where they're like, wait a minute.
Or not even betrayed them, but just like didn't care enough to get up and do anything about it.
When in reality they're starting to realize like, oh, maybe they did care, and they just had to make different choices than what we did because they were in a different situation.
Yeah, I do love Chaos Guy at the end, Palace or whatever his name is.
Palace. I also really like that it specifically mentioned he was 15 when he was taken. So you have Jin and Kira who were like infants.
Yeah,
and they were taken.
And you have, people who remember being in Tuan society
and how that changed.
Yeah,
because like Kira didn't even know she was Tuan, whereas like some of these other people knew the whole time. And
they knew the house they were in. They knew who their family was. All of that.
Even Palace. Yeah, Palace was just like, all y'all care about is houses and house feuds, and like I don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah. And I think Kira realizing that like the way that they acted was in protection, because they were like, we don't want you to have to be involved in this. You have no memory of this. Like, we don't want you to have to be a part of this whole thing. And I think that whole thing is coming around. And I think that's kind of what Elise's part in this is too, is she's like, I'm doing what I have to do so that none of you have to do this stuff.
Yeah.
And they have to remember that the 43 was put through the same torture and everything that Kira and Jin were. So they're not going to come out of that unscathed, especially if they were older and they had families that loved them very dearly. Like, that's going to hit them very different.
Yeah. Whereas Kira has no memories.
Like, Kira and Jin have no memories. They've just blocked it all.
Yeah. I do like that they refer to them as the youngest, like both Jin and Kira, either like the youngest son or the youngest daughter, or sister or brother, but just
they're collectively the youngest. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just like they are the youngest.
Hi, sister. I was like, oh,
that was really cute. I do love that.
Hi, sister. Are you still annoyed that I'm holding a grudge that I tried to kill you multiple times?
Right.
Well, at first
I do like that he said once, and she was like,
she's like,
more than one time, and he was like, oh yeah, it was more than one time.
She's all pissed. She's like,
I love him, and we see more of him in the next book, and
I'm so happy.
And
also,
I really
like
that he was
a year say, like he's still technically following the traditions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I really like that he was connected to the Wanderer, and the Wanderer wasn't some complete random, and also it wasn't like Elise or something.
Yeah.
You know, I really like that.
Yeah. Because like Kira brought up, she was like, I don't recognize his face. So clearly like something weird is going on. So to have it be.
Oh, yes. She was like, why are you so familiar?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's pretty cool. I like him.
Do we get a scene of Odin and Pallas in the same scene? Because that just feels like that would be total chaos.
Yeah, that would be.
Yes, there is a scene with both of them.
I can't remember. Okay, Shay. Yeah.
That's exciting.
Oh, yeah. Okay, wait. I remember.
Yeah, I know.
Hot Bush
Summer.
I think I'm okay with it.
24 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. So,
just got an alert on my phone.
Another day in the life of a millennial.
This is not what we meant by Hot Bush Summer. That's all I got.
Wow. Just like, I don't know. Literally, like, before we were even born. This, like, exact shenanigans was.
Again, Hot Bush Bush. Take your pick. Hot Bush Summer.
Sucks to suck.
Anyways.
Back to this imaginary
mood.
Fantastic imaginary world. It was a great
distraction.
distraction.
Dog snoring.
Well, on that, my niece is half Iranian, so that's going to be a fun conversation this week.
Yeah,
that's great.
Anyway, moving on.
I will say the memories at the end, I straight up sobbed.
Oh yeah,
like,
same.
Baby Earl she stayed with with my parents today, and so she didn't nap, and so we were just sitting in bed while she kind of fussed, and I just sobbed, the whole time.
I do really like that he woke up before the end of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
it was the end of the book, but I liked that was kind of the note it ended on.
Yeah.
But yeah, her being like, I forgot that Jin accidentally sacrificed himself. And she just like turns to look at him. I just like lost it. I was like, I can't. I can't do it.
And just the refreshing way, the refresh of guilt, I guess, that she had forgotten.
Yeah.
And he was just like, don't you dare feel guilty.
Yeah. Literally, I forgot, I just bawled. Just
yeah.
Like, oh my God.
I was crying.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it killed me. That was such a good little twist, though, because it was that perfect example of like, you knew that they were connected. You knew they were soulbound.
Mm-hmm.
But to like just throw in that little like reversal of like, yeah, but she actually died, not him.
Right.
That was so good.
Yeah. That was rough. Rough and good.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then when he was like, I'm gonna save my brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
and then Devin is immediately like, no one will touch my brother.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Devin accepted it so much quicker than Jin. He was like, yeah, that makes sense. This is my brother now. Done.
It took Jin like the whole book. to truly like be on board.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
I loved it though.
Yeah.
And Devin and Jewel like forming a little like friendship.
I love them.
Yeah,
that was cute.
And also the connection between abilities between Celine and Jewel as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the conversation leading to he might need someone who is more in tune with his abilities to train him.
Yeah.
Well, I hate the Voltaire. That just reminded me. The people who kept challenging him. I hate them.
Yeah.
I hate them too. I just hate a lot of this. Might also be why I wasn't a huge fan, because I hate a lot of people in this book.
A lot of antagonism in this one.
Yes.
It's definitely one of the more forward-facing confrontational books.
Yeah.
Where there's a lot of conflict throughout the entirety of it.
Right.
I think you're starting to see how the Savati have like really infiltrated, and how they're not really trying to hide anymore. That like it's coming. Like we're not holding back anymore. We're not trying to like, stay in the shadows.
Like we're not there.
Kira and Jin just destroying that man's ships one by one, and then when he's like, "You're attacking me," and she's like, "I'm a concerned citizen giving you intel."
I just love to prove it.
And the guards were just like, she is correct. She is a concerned citizen giving you intel.
She's like, I dare you. Go prove it right now. Convince everyone.
Yeah. And I think some of the conflict in this is interesting because for a significant part of the book, Jewel is the one who is in conflict and Kira can't intervene.
Yeah.
And so for once, she's actually the one having to watch and trust that situation will manage and find other ways of getting around the conflict, because if she intervenes, she actually makes the situation worse. Whereas she's so proactive in getting involved and in protecting people.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
It feels so much like Kate and Julie and Derek in Kate Daniels. It feels so much like that in like the best way possible.
Yeah.
I also really like that there's not like this constant reminder in like dialogue and exposition that like Kira's so powerful and Kira's the best, and it's just like stuff like that she does where you're just like, oh, that's right, she is a total badass. Because I feel like with some fantasy, sci-fi, romance books, it's just like they're so powerful, they're so amazing, they can do everything, they always win. And like Kira still gets her butt kicked, but then she does things like, oh, I set all your ships on fire. And you're just like, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Right.
I will say
you are the smartest person.
The face changes are probably the creepiest thing that was described in the book.
Yeah.
And in any book I've read recently, because
yeah, they were creepy.
Yeah.
That was,
that was disturbing.
Yeah.
Terrell just being like, don't believe this small child, she's lying. And I'm like, how dare you? How dare you try to be like,
Ziva.
Yes, about Ziva lying. And she's like, I'm not. And I'm like, she isn't. And that's like one of my pet peeves is people who are like, they're lying, even though they're telling the truth. And I'm like, no, they're telling the truth.
That doesn't bother me if they're backed up immediately.
Yeah.
If like, no one with power believes them, then I'm not happy.
Yeah. Luckily everyone around her was like,
yeah. That's exactly what happened.
It was just another tick in the God, I hate this guy.
Yeah.
Column.
Yeah. And that their enemies have learnt to keep everyone separated so that they're all facing different kinds of threats at the same time, or possible threats at the same time, so that no one's in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
On that comment of her being rejecting her chosen one, I did like how that was kind of brought up where she was like, I never wanted to be the leader, when she's talking to Celine. And Celine's like, yeah, but you keep doing it. She's like, I really don't want to be, though. Like, just no one else is doing it.
Right.
I was like, I do like that character instead of the, oh, I don't want to, blah, blah. She's just kind of like taken the role instead of.
It's just like very real, though, because sometimes you're just like, I don't actually want to do this, but I'm doing it because I guess I'm the only person who's going to do it if I don't. Like, nobody else does.
Instead of just complaining the whole time.
Which is more realistic.
Yeah. Yeah. No one else was competent enough.
Or no one's willing to do it either.
Yeah.
There's a level of because you don't have to be the most competent person to step up in a situation, and you can learn while doing.
Absolutely.
Which is essentially what she's done. I do love Ziva and Elena's friendship.
So do I. And with them calling each other sister.
Little besties. I love them.
They're so cute.
Yeah. I did like the like explanation of the Luong as well, because I did always wonder, I was like, how do they get from plant, like, is it just like all water? Like, I was so confused how they got to like that other planet. And so that being like explained in this one, I did appreciate.
Yeah.
I did like when they made Elena hang out with the other kids in Roak.
Yeah.
And she was like, help me. And like, you must socialize with people your age. And she's like, I don't want to socialize with people my age.
But even the
new girl or whatever you called her.
Yeah.
You see this?
Do you see what I have to put up with?
But even the evolution of Elena's relationship with Ryder from the start of this book.
Oh my God. That also made me cry when she was like banging on the
and she
like, Dad. And I was like,
oh my God. I was like,
oh my God,
I was
sobbing.
I swear to God.
Oh, same. I was like, we're done with this. If he dies, I'm done. No more.
Well, because I got to that chapter just as Izzy was like, oh, I just read chapter 28. And I immediately was like, what chapter am I on? I was like, I swear to God.
I was just like laying on the couch and I just went,
yeah. I was like,
it all happened at the end of that chapter. I was like, what?
Yeah. I was like,
what? But then I had to pause for a bit. And I was like, I was going to fight somebody.
Yeah.
I'll fight somebody in a minute.
That was probably the most upsetting thing that Elise did to me. Like, pretty much everything, like, I was like, yeah. When she shot Graydon, though, I was like, bitch needs to get punched.
Yes.
I was like, okay, now I'm mad at you right now. Like, just
I think my tipping point was the face changes and the fact that Elena was in the mix there. And I understand everything we talked about before. That was the first, I'm like, okay, you're seriously going to excuse that level of threat to your child?
Exactly.
That I was like, if it was Ryder or Kira or whatever, and Elena wasn't there, I probably could have. Like, I know that's a stakes thing, and I get it, but I'm like, that's a really severely calculated move to consider that that's because there was the threat in that sequence was real. Like, there were times like, shit, someone's going to end up dead.
And a lot of people did. A lot of people did end up dead. It just happened to be.
No, but I thought it was going to be someone from the group because, to be honest, I probably would have respected that decision as well had that happened. But I'm like, that's the level of threat that you're dealing with, and you're okay with sacrificing your child in that situation.
Yeah, I don't think. I think it's
just. And then when she's not great, and I'm like, no, that's.
I think it's just that she's like willing to gamble or manipulate with the lives of her child and her supposed love of her life, that I was just like, I don't know if I believe anything that you say.
Yeah. And I do think that this is why it didn't bother me, is I don't think there was no way for her to know that Elena was going to be there. Like,
I don't know. I think that's also Elena's
been so much intel around.
I don't know.
Like, she supposedly has so much intel on everything.
First of all,
had no idea when they were going to be activated.
Kid wants you to know that she's here, so she's
Hi,
there.
Kid.
Hello.
And then also, I think that this is part of what I love about like political like intrigue and stuff and court stuff, is the whole point of protecting somebody that's valuable to you by not letting anyone know that they are valuable to you is you cannot flinch and you cannot indicate in any way that this is the line you don't want to cross, or that this is valuable, or that this is a factor, right? She does not want to acknowledge Elena's existence at all in order to protect her. And if she's going to do that, she can't acknowledge her existence at all. She can't be trying to figure out where she is. She can't be doing anything like that.
Which, in contrast, they tried to make Kira do, and Kira refused to do it. And she even brings up that was like always the difference between her and Elise, is Kira could never leave anyone behind, whereas Elise was just more like
ruthless.
A little bit more ruthless,
Elise was either you're my people and I would die for you, or you're not my people and I wouldn't really do anything for you.
Yeah.
I think it was
to have excellent therapists because Elena is going to need it.
Was it Cynthia or Jessica? I think it was Jessica who said that. Elise is doing the best she can, and Kira just ends up doing better. I think the thing that also bothers me with Elise is that the reason Kira does it better is because she's willing to ask for help, even if she hates it. And I don't think Elise is.
I would argue that Kira does it better because she's the main character.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I would argue it's because of Jin.
I would like to argue that this is not Elise's fault.
She has help, is what I like. Even though Jin is like forced help because she can't do anything, like she still has help. So even if she's like, I'm gonna go it alone, Kira still ends up being like, I guess I'll take your help.
More importantly than anything else, Kira has not been captured and held by the enemy for the last decade. Like, to me, that's everything. And it's not just the enemy that you guys have already met, right? It's the masters that they've hinted at and talked about and everything, right? And that have like no sense of right or wrong or like any boundaries or anything.
I think she is forced to take more risks than, I mean, that she would probably even like. I'm sure she wouldn't have liked to bring the face changers, but she had to make the risk that Kira and Graydon and Finn and Raider would all protect.
Right.
Again, I would like Elisa's perspective, please and thank you.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I'd be really interested to get her perspective, like a novella with some of her side of this part.
And on the same thing, I would also like the perspective of some of the 43. I think that completes the world because we are very one-sided in what we get because that's the way that the story is being told, and that's fine.
I just want the 43 because I think it would be fun to follow some of them because I think they have their own little like. I don't know. I feel like they have their own little plans back there, and I'm like, I want in on all of the things that you guys have been planning and scheming.
Well, I think it's interesting because they spent so much time telling Kira that she couldn't reveal their secrets, and they've had no issue in the last book and a half revealing some of their secrets.
They're just like revealing them like crazy too.
On their own terms, because there's clearly they're not necessarily hiding it for the sake of hiding it. They're just they've got their own
just being like. Throwing it out there, like, oh yeah, no, we have other bits in us. And I was just like, he just threw it out there.
Yeah,
no,
and I like that because I think Kira has her perspective of the 43, and again, we talked about that before. That's based around her relationship with them, and her assumption that they're just going to continue doing what they're doing.
Yeah, well,
but we don't have their side of she doesn't have their perspective of her and why they've asked her not to tell their secrets.
And she doesn't want to be like the monolith for everyone. She doesn't want to have to out everybody without like considering them. So I feel like him saying it makes it easier because now she's not speaking for everybody else. They have their own little clique that got to speak for themselves. And now she's like, all right. It was the same thing with Jin, where she was never going to be the one to say it. He had to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I also think part of the issue is that Kira and Jin, from the moment that they were freed, were with the humans. They were in their military, they were in their society, all of that. So I think that's the biggest factor.
But I think
that's honestly the only factor. I think that's what created everything.
And I think that's
probably they reintegrated into a group quickly, and that I feel like would change depending on which group and who and where it's going to.
And you have to think that she was still young because by the time that so she was stolen as an infant. She was a preteen by the time that they escaped. So
no, like
she was like
preteen body in like her 70s or so, or 60s.
Yeah. So I'm like, by the time if that one dude was stolen at 15, he's a full adult. Like that trauma has set in. Like there's no
right.
And no matter what it looks like, she has had people around her, so she's had a support network.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's been a functional, healthy support network is debatable, but she had people around her,
even when she didn't want it.
Even when she didn't want it.
The guy who was stolen when he was 15, we have to remember that the Tuon's age slower because Ziva's like 30 and she's like she's in the body of like a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
So he would only be like
held for a long time.
So he'd be like a toddler or so, like by the time.
Yeah, because that's one of the things she specifically says when she hears about when Graydon tells her how old she is.
Yeah.
She's kind of struck by the fact she's actually decades older. She lost a couple more decades in the camps than she had thought she had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And some of the 43 that was coming out, like they were coming out as like full-on adults.
And the one that we met, whatever his name is, Palace or whatever, there's no indication that he's the eldest either.
No.
So,
yeah.
I just had Ren's reaction also at the end of the book when Elise is captured as well.
Yes.
That got me.
And then
Ren's just the softest little being. Like
I love Ren.
I love Ren.
Like, and then his one tie to his wife, his sister-in-law getting almost blown up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a rough one. He lost his daughter and grandchild in one moment.
Yeah.
Because literally, you're talking worst case scenario. You're talking everything that they tried to avoid happening in the blink of an eye.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And obviously, we as the reader assume we're going to get a happy ending, but there's no reason for the characters to feel that way.
Also, Roark just like going to bat for Kira. Like they were ready to just be like, you can get on that ship and go.
Yes.
We got you. I was like, dang. Like,
the
switch from like when she was with Luatha and they were just like so cold. Roark's like, nah, you can flee. It's fine.
Well, and the reveal that Finn was her dad's Ashota.
Oh, yeah.
Also that he was preparing to leave with her.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well. When he left, I was like heartbroken for a second. I was like, did he just leave her right now? Like while she is
I thought the same thing.
And then when he showed up and he was like, oh, I guess I don't have to I didn't need anything. I was like, oh, okay.
I love, because again, this is another book where we're kind of exploring the flaws of their society where they might not be as accepting or as flexible about things, but then the people that she trusts, that she really needs to give her back that loyalty and that trust, they always end up delivering on it.
Yeah.
And I think particularly in this book, because this is probably the one where Kira gets injured bad enough that Finn is really impacted by it and triggered by his past experiences.
Yeah. And another reason I hate Jarek. Yes. When they were like, truce, and the mother effer was like, truce my rear end.
That
and
was crazy because I think everybody thinks the Emperor and Graydon and everybody is right there. So they arrived in time. You assume, you really assume it's going to be okay now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do love that Harlow beat him black and blue.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, rightfully deserved. You should have had worse.
Yeah.
I hate that you're still talking.
Yeah. I did think it was wild that Overlord that did the whole face changer thing was just in the room for her trial. And I was like, why is this dude just walking around?
Yeah.
Yeah. They explained that on the technicality, but it was still kind of
yeah, I was like, wait a minute. Why is he not in a dungeon somewhere?
Right. I'm like, why is this Overlord? This Overlord should not be an Overlord anymore until after this trial if he is found not guilty.
You know that he's teamed up with the Savati. What?
You've blocked Kira's connection to her, the Maeve, and he's walking around after he's responsible for the deaths of many people across many houses.
Most of them being from his own house. You think his own people would be like the F dude.
Yeah.
Make it make sense.
Yeah. And I feel like it was just that perfect depiction of like, well, he's a powerful overlord, so
not like, that powerful, obviously.
Yeah.
Clearly not.
That was really interesting. That was kind of clear to Kira, at least, that the other random overlord that we've never seen before that was like on the deciding ones. It's clear that he's in the web.
Yeah. And it seems like he's kind of the puppeteer of everything and is using some of those like lower to middle houses to do the dirty work.
Oh my God. And the fact that Terrell, the evil dude in Voltaire house, his house is the reason that
Jules' house is gone.
Yeah.
Because he was like, how dare they have more power than me? And I'm like, I hate this man so much.
See, I read between the lines of that because it was revealed that Jules' house were really good at building ships.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
hey, he has ships.
And hey, suddenly he's got or suddenly maybe they've now filled that sort of vacuum of shipbuilding. Like, that's interesting. Because the other house that I want to know more about is Asanthe or Asanthe, I don't know how it's pronounced in the audiobook, which is the house that they think Alexander belongs to.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're overlord, but also the other members of that house have just been very intrigued by Alexander. So I'm curious to know if they're...
Well, and they weren't shocked when he went berserker mode. So I'm like, oh, is that actually a thing from their house that they just don't tell people? Because
I am curious now that, because you always knew, like, kind of that, like, there were other things that they have that aren't like actual 2-on powers. So now I'm curious which ones are amongst all of them and which ones aren't.
Yeah, because they were like, Palace shouldn't have that power. That's not even a 2-on power.
Yeah.
But then they were like not batting an eye at the Jekyll and Hyde thing that Alex was doing.
Which ones?
Yeah. Which means you know that they were targeting specific houses to get specific powers this other way.
Well, they said that too. They said because they had stolen like 96 or something children, and so only
it was
half
like,
of
did
them...
they come from something important because they were more likely to have survived?
Yeah, because only half of them lived, and basically only half of them lived because that's the 43. But they said we'd have to kill the weaker of us, basically.
Yeah, because when that one heir came, she was like, was your sister important? I don't...
Tinsley, I think.
Yeah.
It reminded me of tinsel, like Christmas tinsel, which is why I remembered it.
That's when I read names, I only read like the first like 3 letters of the name. So I'm really bad at saying them then because I'm like, I don't know, tin.
It's because it was in my ear and I was like, oh, tinsel.
I also think with that it's interesting because like 2 books ago or whatever, you got the Easter egg of Kira saying that she knew someone with a power like his that used it, applied it in unexpected ways, and he could do that too, and that improved his shielding. And I don't know what else I wanted to say. Something about the lost kids
coming full circle and getting to see it was really cool.
I did like seeing Celine use her defensive power as like almost like an offensive power too. That was cool.
And taking like everyone by surprise because it was like none of the 2-on had ever apparently thought of, because they were all just like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Well, so many of the 2-on haven't had to fight for their lives like these people have. So they had to do the best with what they had.
Yeah. And the way that like Celine, Alexander, and Kira just like fell into being able to like fight with each other.
Yeah, decades of experience.
Yeah.
Blue just out of the doodads in her pocket being like, oh yeah, I can build a signal blocker.
Of course she can.
Like, it didn't work, but the fact that she was just like, oh, let me just grab all these little thingies out of my pocket. And I'm like,
it's the best. I just imagine her jangling around as she works.
It immediately made me think of Stargate, where they're like, we're going to fix the ship, and they take out a soldering iron, and I'm just like, what are you going to do with that? They're just like, let me take this soldering iron up here.
When
was it the Emperor? With them in Stargate, Robin?
Was it the Emperor or was it Finn that was criticizing Kira because she was using a welding gun on her ship?
It was the Emperor.
Yeah, that was Torvald.
Yeah. So she's like making repairs, and he's like, "Why are you doing that?"
He's just like,
which I don't know what to make of his character at this point. I'll be honest. Yeah, I like it. I also like the first part of the book. That first part where he's on the ship, I find that so interesting.
I'm very neutral on this man.
And he's in the room when Kira is talking, when Kira's repeating her oath to Graydon as well.
He's so powerful and mysterious, and he has people under him who you kind of don't like, but he also has such like complete loyalty from like Graydon and then other very important characters.
Yeah, I like Torvald. I like how we interact, like that scene with him and Graydon fighting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think I like him as a character because you can see that he takes his like position very seriously. Like he was willing to kill Jin, even though like he was going to be broken by it because it was what was right for his people, but he still is willing to fight for his people. I just like how he walks that line. Like you can tell he like clearly very much so cares about Graydon and his faces and his son and everything like that. The overlords. Like he hasn't been tainted by power.
Right. Yeah, he definitely he has the emotional aspect of actually caring and what he would choose, and also knows that he can't rule just by emotions. And if he ultimately wants a specific end result, he's still going to have to go through the proper channels and kind of trust other people to do the work for him.
Yeah. Well, the fact that he couldn't preside over the trial at the end.
Yeah. Well, and I think he has this kind of this knowledge of like he could have overstepped everyone and done it, but it would have put everyone in such a dangerous position.
Yeah.
Like he knew, he was like, he could have saved Jin easily if he had wanted to, but then everyone would have came for him.
Right.
So at what cost?
Right.
Is Jin even safe then?
I did love that the other aliens whose names I can't remember were like, we will have this, or we will say that this is a sign of war.
Yep.
Yeah.
We will take Jin if you will take Kira if you do not want Jin. Yeah. And I was like, thank you. But was it Palace, I think, or was it Alex? They get really confused in my head at the end when they were like, the 43 have decided that we're going to base our actions based on how y'all treat the youngest.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When Palace
and that's when that
back up, he's like,
that was one of you. Yeah. But then that's one of the conditions when they were like, well, we want to see the 43 and we don't want war with these people. So I guess we'll just let Jin be. And I'm like, I feel like that cancels that out. If it's like, well, we would kill this kid, but we also kind of want to see the other 40-something, 30-something kids that are left. So I guess we won't kill this kid. I'm like, that's like a negating factor right there. I don't know if I would be like, yes, you've treated him well in the end because I told you what was at risk.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Watching those memories, like all of the reactions, everything. That was rough. That was so rough.
That was really rough.
Yeah.
I've never been more relieved to finish the book the day of the live and know that like I could, if I need to, tomorrow start the next book.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm really curious about.
Yeah, the energy with this book in particular is immediately like, okay, I have to have the next one.
Yeah.
This is the first one where I have zero desire to pick up the next book right away.
Interesting.
Do we get more of the humans in the next? Because I'm really curious about.
We got like no humans this one.
Well, because you know that they are essentially fracturing.
That's true. Oh yeah, that's right.
Because Jace is like, people are pulling out because apparently they think they can take care of themselves, and Jace is trying to like hold onto the ships and like take precautions so that they don't get access to everything that they got from the Tuan. And so now I'm just like, I'm shocked. Shock of all shocks. The humans are imploding.
So unpredictable. Who could have
Never
ever
saw it coming.
No. The one little thing that I remember, this is not to do with the humans, is when Pallas does turn up in the courtroom with Alexander, and Alexander is just like, I hate it when you transport us this way, and he's bent over and he's sick. I'm like, you are the biggest badass in this room, and you are sick from traveling.
Yeah.
Like, I get it, but also that's hilarious.
Yeah. It's like when you see the juxtaposition of him and Celine with like everything else, he'd be like doing something crazy, and then you'd be like, oh, are you hurt?
Yep.
Oh, there was a line where Kira's like to Celine, why do they call you a lady and not me? And that just made me laugh so hard.
Yeah. I love them. The next book I feel like is not my favorite because of how fractured everybody is. But the reveal at the end of the next book is like my favorite, like maybe one of my favorite parts of the entire series.
I feel like that's like a thing you don't like, though. Particularly, you don't like when the characters are separated.
I don't at all.
Yeah.
It's D&D 101. You don't split up the party.
I actually don't mind it as long as they're not separated for like
books.
Yeah. It's like if we're spending a whole series apart, then like what's the point?
No, they don't spend the whole series apart.
Yeah. It's kind of like when Kira and Elena like take off with the ship accidentally, and I was like, oh. But then like they ended up all coming back together. I was like, okay, we're good. So
like when it's used to actually further the plot as opposed to being something that's just there to create plot.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I think it's at the end of next month.
I actually have it written down already. It is
good.
July 26th. July 26th.
Well, I was like, I have to go open up my calendar. Hold on. I put all of them in.
Yeah, it is the last Saturday in July.
Yeah.
I'm also happy we moved this one up.
If you're not in the Northern Hemisphere, it's the 27th.
Yeah.
I'm happy we moved this one up because apparently my mom is doing a surprise visit next weekend. And she told me about it like this week. And I was like, well, I'm happy we're doing the live today.
It's just easier with all the holidays in the States too.
That's true.
Like I wouldn't have been able to make next Saturday.
No, I already knew I wasn't going to be able to make next Saturday.
I was like, you knew way ahead stuff, which is why we're a week early.
That's why it's scheduled how it is. Because it's Steph's show.
Well, I like that we like for this though. It was really nice to like have the schedule this far out. Like this is only 5 books, so we could and know like okay, this is when.
Yeah.
For any and all future ones, we will be mapped out well in advance.
Yeah. And also, we've had better attendance than I thought we might. You know, of the 6 of us, it's worked out very well. I know, like Shay in particular is going out of her way to try and make this schedule happen. But still, I'm impressed with how much we've showed up.
So I feel like we've all like 1-ish out of 5 is not bad.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of us.
I don't get to drop one, unfortunately.
You're supposed to get me to log into your StreamYard.
Yeah, that's true.
You log one of us into your StreamYard and we could do it. It'd be fine.
Me and Steph are always here, and then the rest of you.
Hey, I've been to all of them so far.
I had unforeseen circumstances. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, so true. So true. I'm not saying y'all don't have valid reasons.
I was also there for most of that live show. I was just in the chat.
You were.
That's fair.
I was in an airport.
True that. Had you read the book at that point? Now I can't even remember. Yeah. Okay.
I read it.
Yeah, she was mad she couldn't come to the live because she enjoyed the book.
Yeah. You can go back and check the chat for that live show.
All right. I have to be the party pooper and I do need to bounce. But love y'all. Love this book. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Well, is there anything that we want to add before we wrap up? Anyone in the chat? Any of you guys? I think we covered most.
I because trials are not my favorite thing, but I really like this one in particular because, yes, you have like some kind of bad faith actors, but generally speaking, everyone's trying to see the survival of all of the participants, right? It's not one of those fight to the death things, and every casualty is like a tragedy, you know, whereas I feel like almost every single time we see trials now, it's like die for sport. We like this part of it, you know, and it's like
I did like that it wasn't to the death type trials.
There was that one random person who actually died,
but that
there was a couple that actually died.
Yeah, and that was the
because the Ashota killed that person. I still don't understand why the Ashota killed that person.
Isn't it that the power, like corruption of power?
So you walk into that room and the power, essentially, you could take all of the power, and if you start like being like, oh, I'm power hungry, they kill you.
Yeah,
it's based on their history with masters.
Yeah. I did like how in the first part of the trial, Kira just waits up in the top of the tree.
Yes, I love it.
And everyone walks in, and it's Raider, and he's like, "Are you gonna come down?
Are you gonna chill in that tree?"
That's a good comparison. Yeah, it's like The Ring.
Yeah,
Lord of the Rings, where it's just like, oh, you want all of the power. Okay, you can't.
You're not the person that can.
Yeah, you can't be in power because you are too power hungry.
Which is really interesting because they have that trial, and then it's later on where Kira has no access to her power, so she's faced the one where she has access to all of it, and then when faced with the actual real choice, she has to make it without access to any of that.
I also liked the scene where Graydon takes her and he's like explaining the pools, and she's like, oh, you think I'm gonna like stay behind? And he's like, oh no. There's something else you need to do. And I was like, his faith in her, like undying faith. I just really like he's like, oh no, you misunderstand. That was just an explanation.
Right.
Yeah, that did remind me of the Dead Marshes.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's a pretty common kind of mythology type thing.
Yeah, I've seen that in a lot of things. Yeah,
it's like
souls in the water.
Yeah.
Oh, and then how they might not actually be dead because there's no bodies.
Yeah.
Yep. That was interesting.
And they're like, well, wait a minute, you're right, because Elise didn't die, and there are no bodies.
What?
The other curse.
The other curse.
She asked Elise if everyone else is dead.
What?
No, there's a sequence where she's considering whether or not, when she sees the friends,
did everyone else die in Rothschild?
Did they actually die there because there were no bodies to recover?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So all the other Kurds have empty graves, and if Elise survived, did everyone else survive?
But theoretically, all the other Kurds were just humans.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
And they did say that they were stealing humans as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And she doesn't think about it past that scene, which is kind of more probably just when confronted with the situation, it's caused her to question, but whether or not she actually is truly questioning it, up for debate.
Yeah.
There's enough foreshadowing based on her random thoughts that I'm like, it could.
Yeah. I would be surprised if that like came to fruition, but it did have like this, because Blue then is like, wait, does that mean everyone else is? And Kira's kind of like, I never thought about it, but
right, because Kira always knew that Elise was one of the 43.
Yeah.
Blue didn't know that.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Blue, Elise is just a Cur.
Yeah.
No body, no proof.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Alrighty. Should we wrap this up? Or we've got other things to talk about?
Now that we can hear the snores.
She's so mad.
Oh.
Because she was on her little Yoda bed, but she can't get in the Papazon I got like on her own. I have to pick her up. I was like, I can't pick you up right now. So she has taken a lone blanket and shoved herself against the leg of the desk.
Look what you have made me.
and is like, look at this shame, mother.
Look at what I have become.
Put me through.
Because there's not like other blankets she could lay on. There's not other places she could lay. You know,
so dramatic.
She couldn't have stayed on the couch.
The drama.
Yeah, but you're not on the
literally,
couch.
like she's shoved up.
Oh.
I was like, what are you doing? Okay, Mills. Just a sad girl. Yeah. She can't sit in front of me like Pisa's right now.
Life's tough.
The best place for the cat, of course.
Yeah, life's tough.
Listen,
house dog.
Bring me back as the dog. Like, is she like my dogs? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a great life.
No kidding.
She is guilting me. I know. I'm going to put her in the chair when we're done here.
Alrighty. Well, we'll wrap this up. Thank you to Cynthia and Jess, and to you guys.
And whoever watches.
And whoever watches it on replay.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining
We're
us.
so good at promo.
So good.
I blame being unwell. So I scheduled it. I managed to schedule it at least a week in advance.
You did. You did very good.
Take that as a win. But yes, have a good night or a good day wherever you are. And we will see you on the 26th or the 27th, depending on where you are. Bye.
Bye, y'all.